too far out there for people to even wrap their minds around. And then there are other things that are now coming out as truth that people just really aren't grasping the full severity of it. I mean, this is huge, people. And today we're going to talk about that matrix that's all around us, okay? Do you remember, there was this great movie, The Matrix. It was one of those movies that opened people's eyes to the fact that life may be more than what they believed. It may, in fact, be a simulation. That's right. We're going to be talking about the simulation theory today. And it's not just some YouTuber that's talking about it. It's not just some guy who's interested in these things. I'm going to share, one PhD after another PhD after another, Medal of Science winner. And these people who have studied their life, trying to find the meaning of it, have found out that there is something underlying the fabric of the universe, computer code, and more. And just now, some shocking new news came out, which you're going to find out at the end, that really it makes you kind of go like this, like, what's going on? And why aren't they making bigger news of this? You remember that scene in The Matrix? I don't know if you've seen it. There's this character, Neo, and, he thinks life is normal, and then all of a sudden, he finds out that he's been plugged into some kind of alternate reality. And there was this great scene where Morpheus basically tells him, what is real to you, Neo? What is it? Because if it's what you see, what you taste, what you touch, what you smell, you're just talking electrical information. You're talking information that is inputted into our senses, and then we translate it into our senses and our feelings and our experience.
Right now, we're inside a computer program.
Is it really so hard to believe?
This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. This is the world that you know. The world as it was at the end of the 20th century. It exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix.
Well, that scene, it really is something that you all should pay attention to. And it should give you awesome hope, because towards the end of the program, you're going to find out what that means for all of us, okay? So reality may be nothing more than a simulation, right? Well, with that goes along the idea that things like the paranormal, things like Mandela Effect, things like even Nibiru and the Anunnaki and all of these things that we talk about on this channel and that we get excited about, well, this all ties in together. And today, we're going to get into all of that. So I hope you're ready. I hope you're buckled up, because the show is about to begin. I think Einstein said it best when he said, reality is merely an illusion, right? An illusion. Now, Einstein, big brain guy, right? Smart guy. He understood that everything was connected, everything was relative. And today's string theory is going to really open the door to the possibility that we are kind of living in this matrix. And we're going to get into it. So if you don't know about string theory and quantum physics, don't worry about it. I'm going to explain it, right? But Einstein said that reality is merely an illusion. That means that, wake up, Neo, the Matrix has you. Okay, back in the 70s. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Blade Runner. Well, it's based on a great book. A sci-fi author named Philip K. Dick. Back in like the 70s, he kind of came out and he said, look, I'm going to tell you all something that that other people are scared to tell you. I'm going to tell you stuff that physicists know about, but they're not going to talk about. And that's the fact that each and every one of us is living in a simulation.
People claim to remember past lives. I claim to remember a different, very different present life. I know of no one who has ever made this claim before, but I rather suspect that my experience is not unique. What perhaps is unique is the fact that I am willing to talk about it. We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. And I will even say this, such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
Now they laughed at him, right? Cut to today, where we have a lot of other big brain people making big time news, like Elon Musk, who, you know, I guess he can't live down the fact that he said this, right? But Elon Musk quoted as saying that, you know, look, it stands to reason that, you know, what, 30, 40 years ago, we were looking at Pong, and today we have like this photorealistic, you know, millions of people are playing online in this virtual land, you know, a virtual reality that is we can almost not tell the difference of it. Sometimes when we go to the theaters, we see these movies and the CGI is so realistic, you can't tell what's real and what's not. And that's basically what these scientists are saying, is that if you can't tell the difference, then it's just as real. The simulation is just as real. So what Elon Musk said was that, look, bottom line is, if technology continues to increase, there's something called Moore's Law, and that, you know, technology is going to advance, right? So if in just 30 years we've come to where we are now, what's going to happen in another 30 years?
I think here's, like the strongest argument for us being in a simulation, probably being in a simulation, I think is the following. That 40 years ago, we had Pong, like 2 rectangles and a dot. That
Right.
was what games were. Now, 40 years later, we have photorealistic 3D simulations with millions of people playing simultaneously, and it's getting better every year. And soon we'll have virtual reality, augmented reality. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality. So given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box or on a PC or whatever, and there would probably be, you know, billions of such, you know, computers or set-top boxes, it would seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
Now, some people may, you know, may say that he's kind of off his rocker, even though, you know, he's the guy who created PayPal and, you know, the SpaceX program, which, by the way, you know, I don't know if you saw the news, but that rocket most likely sabotaged, okay? What's going on, right? But that's another story. Maybe I'll do that in another video. But, you know, he's not the only one. There was a paper that was written, a very famous paper, by a man named Nick Bostrom. Okay, now this guy, you know, Oxford guy, really smart guy, lots of letters before and after his name. Well, he wrote this paper, and it was called, "Are You Living in a Computer Simulation?" Okay, and in this paper, he lays out these 3 probabilities. That the first probability is that civilization cannot possibly exist to reach its technical, you know, prowess. It can't ever really reach the prominence of technology. It'll destroy itself before that. The second possibility is that we're already kind of in a simulation and we've just stopped creating simulations, and now we're creating simulations and simulations. And the third probability, which he says, it's impossible to say that this is impossible. He actually said something along the lines like that it's highly unlikely that this is unlikely, that In fact, it's more likely and more probable and more possible, mathematically speaking, that we are living in some kind of simulation already. All right? And that we wouldn't know it anyway. And that some of us may be the originators. You know, some of us may be living and existing outside of this matrix, and that the others are basically just, you know, kind of simulations themselves that have become consciously aware, and they don't even know that they're simulations, which we'll get into those Mandela effects that everybody's so interested in. Like, why are some people having them and why are some people not? I don't know. We're going to talk about it in a little while. Don't go anywhere, right? But so Nick, he comes out and he says this stuff, and it blows people's minds. But he's not the only one. So we have Bostrom, we have we have Elon Musk, we have Philip K. Dick, we have a lot of people, okay? But now we got this guy. He's Google's AI guy, Ray Kurzweil, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
Ray, some very intelligent scientists have now begun speculating that maybe we're living in a simulation. Is there any coherence to this?
Well, first of all, it's not clear there's much difference between a simulation and reality. Sometimes I talk about we'll be able to simulate human intelligence, and then some philosophers come and say, well, that's a simulation, and that's not the real thing. And if you simulate something as precise as the original thing, I don't think actually there is a difference. Another possibility is that our universe actually runs on a computer, because people have examined physical laws as a set of computational processes. And it's really quite plausible to say our universe is a computer. We have this idea, at least in the Western philosophies, that what really is true of the universe, that fundamentally it's a bunch of stuff. It's a bunch of particles and energy, and it's real physical stuff. And the stuff can maybe represent information, but basically it's stuff. Well, maybe fundamentally it's not stuff, it's fundamentally information. And what we call stuff, like particles and electrons and protons, these are just manifestations of information structures. The most fundamental aspect of the universe is information.
These guys deal with probability, and they deal with math, and they deal with science. And scientifically speaking, it makes more sense that we are in this matrix than if not. Yeah, you see, it's not just me. It's not just me. Now, this is the guy that I like the most. His name is James Gates, okay? He's another one. The guy's a winner of the National Medal for Science, okay? He was like Obama's scientific advisor. This guy, he's taken pretty seriously, all right? So now he's one of the forerunners in the realm of string theory. Now, string theory is basically how they explain existence as a whole. It's a physics thing. And because there's so many problems, right? There's so many problems with physics that they have to find a way to find one theorem that kind of everything fits into, and string theory really kind of fits in nice. The really cool thing about this, though, is that string theory is a lot like computer code, how you have lines and lines and lines of code. Well, that's basically what James Gates is saying. He said that when he was delving into this and when he was looking at the equations, what he found beneath it all was a computer code. That's right. The very foundation of the universe and everything we know is computer code, like something that runs a browser, a web browser, like Googling my name, for example. Take a look.
And what I've come to understand is that there are these incredible pictures that contain all the information of a set of equations that are related to string theory. And it's even more bizarre than that, because when you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web. And so I'm left with the puzzle of trying to figure out whether I live in the matrix or not.
Wait, you're blowing my mind at this moment. So you're saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers.
That is correct. So,
Wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos.
Now, I understand that this is an uncomfortable topic, right? But a topic we should talk about because, look, there are a lot of reasons this is true, okay? One of the big reasons is that what they call the Goldilocks, okay, basically, the way we're situated in the universe, like the perfect distance from the sun, the perfect, we have the perfect, everything's mathematically perfect so that life just exists perfectly, okay? See, that doesn't make sense, that it just kind of happened, okay? It doesn't make any sense that it happened. And that's why everybody's jumping on this bandwagon, right? Because, they can't say that God created things. No, that wouldn't make any sense. Intelligent design didn't make any sense until all of a sudden they said, well, we're creating simulations and they're pretty realistic. And soon, we're going to be able to put ourselves into these simulations. It stands to reason that we're in a simulation, and that would explain why everything is, irreducibly complex. Okay? Which means that, they're almost like these boundaries, these limits, and they're actually testing this stuff. Okay, what I mean by boundaries and limits is that, the universe, we've heard the term that the universe is ever expanding, okay? Well, like a computer program, you can continue to program it and continue to create it. So it's being created as we go. And the irony is that as it's being created, it's being observed. So the more we observe, the farther it seems to go. It's almost like we're co-creating here. Now, this ties in directly to people of faith who have said from the beginning that we are like children of God and that we're kind of co-creators here. And now, with this simulation theory, these people that had a big problem with the idea of a creator are now saying that we possibly do co-create and that we are living in a creation of some kind of superior being, or at least a far more advanced being, or the other idea is us in the future, and we're just reliving, that we kind of plugged ourselves into this game. We don't really need a body anymore, right? Because what is the body? And that's the thing. What does matter, really? What does matter? What's the matter with matter, right? Everything that we look at is temporal. Everything that we look at, everything that we exist in is temporary. I'm going to be gone. This video is going to be gone. You're going to be gone physically, but not the essence of who we are. You see, that lives on. That is infinite. That is, divine, if you will. And that's what they're getting at, is the idea that we have somehow been placed into this simulation. Our consciousness has been almost plugged in, and that we are now living inside of this matrix, much like Neo was. And the funny part is, there are boundaries. Okay, so there are boundaries in a video game. There are boundaries in a computer program. There's an edge, and they call this, what are they calling it? The lattice. Okay, that's the thing. Like right now, they're trying to disprove it because this idea of a simulation is so compelling that they're trying to disprove it, and in trying to disprove it, they found that it can't be disproven because there are boundaries. There are let me try this a different way. Okay, when you look at a television screen, you see pixels, okay? You're looking at me right now, but really, the closer you get, it'll become distorted. Okay, that's exactly the way reality, or what we call reality, it works as well. When you go down to the subatomic level, when you get down beneath, the atoms and the protons and the neutrons, you even get down past the quarks, you get down to what they call Planck level, which is like the lowest level. Guess what happens? There's no more meaning. It doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't even exist. There's nothing really there. So, more evidence for a simulation theory. Quantum physics is even saying that we're living in a holographic environment, that really we're just linear code, we're a stream of information that's being projected into a hologram, holographically. All of this stuff is, it's quite fascinating. And I think it's more fascinating that the big news, which just came out, is that we have these billionaires that are now paying lots and lots, we're talking millions of dollars, to try to find a way out. Yes, get us out of the matrix. Find a way out, right? Because if we're trapped here, it seems like the only way out would be, I don't even know. I can't say death, because who's to say that we're not recycled right back? It's interesting that millions of dollars would be spent to try to find a way out of something that, they can't really come out and say exists, because it just doesn't make any sense. I think the NASA PhD, Richard Terrell, I think he said it best, there's more evidence for a simulation than not. So this is a tough topic to talk about, people. I get it. I didn't, all week long I was talking to my wife and I was saying, I don't know how to get this across to people, because it doesn't really make any sense. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, wow, this is exciting, because for how long have people said, there's really no proof of a creator? And well, this offers just a staggering amount of evidence that there is more. I'm not saying that we're in, some kind of alien program. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying this is what smart people are saying. And there's got to be a reason for it. And we should look into it. And that should give us some kind of excitement, because if that's the case, if you remember the movie The Matrix, when Neo figured it out, man, the sky was the limit. He could fly, okay? Because if it's a computer program, you can become anomalous to it, and you can do basically anything you want to do in a roundabout way, as long as it lines up with the physics and the laws that are already placed here. I'm not telling people to go try and fly. That's crazy. Don't do this crazy stuff like that, please. Okay, but listen, Terrell, he said that this is the simulation argument is the best argument for a creator, and he is almost, he's sold out to this idea. Take a look.
We have to ask the question: is the real world identical to the simulated world? And if that's the case, then the simulated world is identical to this, the real world not existing. Okay? And if I can now simulate things photoreal, then I can simulate a whole bunch of different scenarios. And I can change who we are, where we are, what we're looking. I can change things to our body types. We can even get rid of the body itself. And ultimately, if we would upload our consciousness into computers, we don't even need the brain. We just need our minds somehow interacting with this machine, which can replicate forms of reality. We may be a simulation. So we need to both look down, understand the physics, understand the relevance of the physical data to simulation. We also need to look up. We need to see and engineer that next level of existence. We have been given a universe which is profoundly beautiful and holds incalculable potential. And we stand at the cusp of being able to gain almost godlike power over mind and matter. Okay? There can be no more monumental time for consciousness than this time. It's only 20, 30 years away from being able to do that. That's 1/300 millionth the time of the entire age of the universe. What's the probability that we've just now won this lotto of irony, that we're that close and not over the edge? I believe that the signatures of the universe are telling us fundamentally that the universe is probably engineered for consciousness. And we are both the children of that universe and also the architects of its future. And that is way cooler than atheism.
I really wanted to talk about the Mandela Effect, okay? And especially because this lines up so perfectly with this topic, because if this is a simulation, if you will, all you have to do is write a little bit of code and then there are these little changes. And then what do we become? We become like almost like little lab rats, right? In some kind of an alien experiment, okay? Well, I'm not saying that's happening, but it definitely is something that we can consider because there are things changing. I've gotten a little bit of flack from some people, and I got to tell you something. If you want to give me flack, that's fine. But I say to you, before you Google something, you say, oh, that's the way the logo is, or oh, that's the way it's always been. Think about it in your mind first. Like, how do you remember the Coke logo? You know, picture it in your mind, the Coca-Cola logo, right? It was like red, right? It was in scripty white letters, Coca-Cola, and there was something right there in the middle. Picture it. Coca-Cola. What was like a little dash, right? A little dash, maybe a little wavy line. But guess what? Even though millions of people remember it that way, that's not the way it is anymore. Historically speaking, I'm not saying they've changed their logo. I'm saying from the 1900s. I'm saying that if you're my age, 45, you would have never seen it that way. Now it exists like this. Like a little dot up top. I know I've talked about this in other videos, but the thing that really struck me and really disturbed me was the thinker. Okay, that's kind of the new thing going around. And there's this great channel that I just stumbled upon called Esoteric Detective. Check them out. I gotta tell you, I like what Ed does. And I don't know if he found it out or somebody else found it out, but I stumbled on it. And I got to tell you something. I'm a playwright, and I had the thinker in one of my plays. I mean, I struck a pose and everything, right? And that pose was like this. This was the thinker pose, as I remember correctly. Was that clenched fist onto the forehead, right? I like shocked in the middle of the night when I saw that it's like this now. It's like this now. He's like pointing. It's not even a clenched fist. So I went and I asked my wife, and my wife said, no. She goes, I remember it like this. Now, there are a lot of people that don't remember it like this. They remember it like this. But I'm telling you, that's the way it was. And I can prove it because George Bernard Shaw, which happens to be the man, okay, and he was friends with Rodin, okay, he was a little bit narcissistic, and he kind of took this photographer and he said, you know what, you should take pictures of me, doing the thinker pose. That's right, doing the thinker pose. And guess what? We have evidence of it. Take a look. Now, you don't see George Bernard Shaw going like this, do you? He was friends with Rodin, okay? You see him going just like this. He's naked, too. A little weird, but great, great man, very smart guy. There's something to it. There's something different. The Volkswagen logo. I had one of my viewers, they actually reached out and contacted me because they saw my video on the Mandela Effect and they got freaked out, right? Now, why did they get freaked out? Because he has it tattooed on his leg. The man has the Volkswagen logo tattooed on his leg, and guess what it's missing? It's missing that dash in the middle that separates the V and the W, which was never there. My history, my timeline, the Volkswagen logo never existed that way, but now it does. And so he freaked out. He sends me this picture. Take a look. don't you think if someone's going to get a tattoo of a certain logo, that he might show the tattoo artist the logo, and that the tattoo artist might actually do it the right way? Or do you think that it's possible that it's changed, right? Now, what are some other ones that have changed? Okay, well, Popeye. I was a big fan of Popeye. You know, I ate the spinach. I wanted to have big muscles like him, not freaky forearms. But the dude only had one tattoo. He didn't have two tattoos. He only had one on one arm. It wasn't on both. But now, some people are saying that the A-Team van is different. I don't remember it being gray and black. I remember it being all black. You know, like the toy. I got the toy. All black with the little red stripe. But now, black and gray. Now look, there are a list of these that go on, and I'd love to share them, but this video has already gone on longer than I usually do. So if you want to check out more on the Mandela Effect, you know, check me out. Check out the video I did on it. I've done a couple of them. You should actually see the one about CERN and how it explains how they may be behind this. And guess what? That's what they're doing at the LHC, the collider. They're trying to find out what makes reality real. They're trying to find this computer code that James was talking about. They're trying to prove. They're trying to open up other dimensions or other realities. They're trying to get a way out of the matrix. But the way out's always been within. The way out has always been within. There is more, people. Right? Now, whether you're freaked out by this or you're excited by this, I'm excited by it because nothing's really changed except for the fact that I have wisdom of it and knowledge of it. And the truth sets us free from the lie. And if everything that we're experiencing is in a lie, then the truth is going to set us free from it so we can finally live our life and enjoy our time here. It's time that we all do that. It's time that we start living our lives and loving. And we start going within and seeking more. The truth may not be out there, because the farther we search, the more there is to find, because we may be co-creating it together, right? With the infinite and the divine to begin with. So in any event, I hope this opened your mind to a couple of other possibilities. And I mean, it does lend a lot of credence to this Mandela Effect, because it does kind of make sense that these things are changing. Just like there was a brawl at Chuck E. Cheese's, right? Now it's Chuck E. Cheese's. I remember it as Chuck E. Cheese. I don't remember it as Chuck E. Cheese's. Been there a bunch of times, but it turns out it's always been Chuck E. Cheese's. Now they're calling it Chuck E. Cheese's. There was just a big brawl. How terrible is that, right? That people can't even take their children somewhere and have a good time without losing their minds and attacking each other. We need to come together, people. We need to live for more. We need to find more. And the only way to do that is to seek, right? Those that seek find. Those that knock the doors open for them. So do it already, okay? It's time to win the game. If we're